Holy shit, if you want to get pissed off, you do a video and it doesn't work. That's literally do a video, no sound. Oh my god. Let's we are going again, bulls. Let's get into it. Get the screen up just in case anyone has any questions. Where are we? Alright. Live in the control room. We're in. What's happening, bulls? What is going on? Man, I have just done a full stream and there's this new button up in the corner that said go live. I haven't seen that. It's never had to do that with OBS, but here we are. We've got a lot to talk about. The market is crashing again. I'm going to zip through this because it's because I've literally just fucking put on the performance of a lifetime. All the lines, everything. So let me just talk. Let's just zip through it. I've got some charts. We've got some charts. We've got the news. And then we'll finish watching a couple of videos together. Very important because when is the bottom? You need to understand what's going on with crypto because it's very, very daunting. And the good news is it's not just crypto. If that makes you feel any better, it's not just crypto. It's fucking everybody. The whole stock market. Trump, the tariffs, etc., etc. But we got some hopium, and we got some good things to talk about. So a lot of this will just be like a summary of what I've already talked about. So if I talk in past tense, please understand. So what I was saying here is a Bitcoin chart. One candle equals 1 day. We had a big range up here, and the range broke down. I was bullishly biased. It's been one of the worst performances of my career, that's for sure. Just staying too bullish. Actually, I'll look you in the eye for this one. Actually, one of the worst sort of judgments on my behalf, because more or less for the last 7 years of being in crypto, all this good news that we've basically been waiting for this whole time, SECs, presidents, all that sort of stuff. Plenty more. It's here, and you've just literally been waiting 7 years to just be like bull on, let's go, at the front of the pack with the flag, and it's done the exact opposite. In fact, the altcoins have disapparated harder than potentially ever in any bull market that I've seen. Probably harder than that big crash in 2021 because a lot of these are down huge multiples, massive, down bad. So what I want to talk about here is Bitcoin chart being a gigabar, blue bar, and then we had an expansion. So the expansion continues until the expansion comes back down into these low areas, minus in the under 15%. This expansion is still on. It's had its first try, and it does continue. What usually happens with trends, as you can see that I've did a masterclass earlier with, is trends typically they start forming a trend, and they grind to the side, and then the parabola increases, and then the parabola finishes. And that's typically what happens. Sometimes you get it on a bit of a different sort of platter. For example, this uptrend. So this uptrend is trending up, and then you get the hockey stick parabola. Usually it finishes there, and it'll be like that. But instead we got another sort of similar angled trend higher before the double top. But that's typically just the typical nature of a trend. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just saying, typically speaking, that's how it rolls. It works its way into a hockey stick, whether it's upside down or right side up. This sort of shit. So that's typically what happens. Now, I was talking about S78K being a huge area of support. I mean, not so much support, but importance. Okay, so even though it was a wick, it was a low, and you can see that the price is starting to put some candles here. and close around this area. Could be sort of a bit of a fake bottom. Could be the bottom. Chances aren't that high. Chances are more high on this SR flip. So this is an SR, support and resistance. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe. 6 times it's hit this resistance before breaking through it. A lot of time this will act as a bit of a support. So this is a big range here. So, price trends, very small amount of time compared to how much it ranges. It ranges like 80, 70 to 90% of the time. The price is going to range. If you're speaking about your time frame, obviously, if you zoomed in on all this sort of shit, you'd see like, yeah, it's not ranging here. It's actually trending. If we zoomed into a 4-hour chart or a 2-hour chart or something like that, you'd see that it's actually trending, not ranging. But if you zoom out, or if you're on the correct time frame and you address it properly, it ranges a lot. So it's trending right now. So the good news with that is, yeah, it'll probably be over. Won't be too much longer where it'll do that, and then we might get some months where it goes sideways again, where it ranges. So maybe it ranges down here. We'll see. But you've got one count of bullish divergence. That's what the title is. I'll move my head again. The title explaining. So you've got the clearly, you've got the low, and then you've got the lower low, and you've got the low, and then you've got the higher low. So what you definitely want to see is like maybe at least 2 counts. I mean, that does include the price coming down further. But if you want to see an actual proper RSI reversal, then you're looking at something like at least bare minimum 2 counts of divergence. More divergence. Like we've got a module on the RSI and blockchain bulls, so you can watch that and understand a bit better. But yeah, it's sort of just like the wheels are spinning. It needs to really put it into a lower gear to get more movement, and that's what more divergence we'll see. Probably wouldn't be surprised. Like sort of pretty high probability thing now is just to come down like one try lower, whether it comes up here and comes back down here, and then with this the RSI gets a bit like exaggerated and comes down, doesn't come quite as low. You get that double divergence. It's pretty common on larger time frames to have neater signals. They just they take a lot longer to play out typically speaking. So we'll move over onto Ethereum. I was just saying about Ethereum, very sad. Fucking pretty sad, more or less. Moving over here to Ethereum, I was just talking about how it's got this big supply zone, and it's come down. It's come down a lot. I said on the last video that a lot of people would have been liquidated when it come down below 2K. I was like, oh man, this it broke down below 2K. Imagine all the stop losses. So I went over. I'm not going to do it again, but I went over to Coinalyze, went to Ethereum, went to liquidations. It turned out to be $100 million worth of liquidations today, but it actually had already done that or more in 5 times this year so far. So it's not too astronomical, not too much of a serious thing, but it has been painful being an Ethereum enjoyer, none to say the least. I mean, look at that, yeah. Especially coming into this bull market, progression with law, banks, BlackRock institutions, ETF holders. You think that they're going to be creaming the knickers over 4% yield, staking people's Ethereum. It's just like, hey, look, like I want to buy Ethereum through my bank, and then the bank's just like, okay, yeah, we'll hold your Ethereum, but we get your yield, or you get 1%, we get 3%, or whatever. You know what I mean? That's sort of like, that's the bank. That's our bank. That's the sort of shit that banks want to do. Ethereum's looking sad, man. Really sad. Solana, Solana we talked about pretty often about 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was 11 tries where it's come down below this huge support area, like all these circles. Let me just have a sip. These huge circles here, where it's only spent like 1 or 2 days below the 125 area. So, okay, 1 and today's 2. So we'll see here. Because then again, if it comes back down into here, man, that's the end of the range. It's the end of the range, and then you're looking at sub 100 on Solana, which is it's fucking. You would never believe it if I said it to you. If I said it to you 3 months ago, if I was like, oh yeah, in March we'll be talking about Solana will be at 120, and we'll be talking about it probably potentially going into the 90s or the 80s, you'd be like, pack up and fuck off, Chad. Sick of it. Dogecoin, same, like huge knot here on Dogecoin, pretty impressive area of support here. So for Dogecoin, so she's sort of come back down. A lot of the time, yeah, when you see big parabolic rises, man, if you've got the patience and the confidence and the belief, for lack of better words, of waiting for a better entry. Yeah, well, a lot of the time it really will actually come back down to a price knot. You know, the price knot being, you can read it, look it up, price knot, but yeah, just being these areas on the way up. So before these big parabolas, it makes these. So there's a little knot here, and this is a bigger knot, big serious knot. You know, so you got a range here. See these equal highs. So you got a range here, so they're not sort of the first break, the first stall after it leaves the range. So yeah, Doge, I mean, you know, same sort of shit. Wants to put in some ugly ass divergence. Again, did not expect. I thought we were going to a dollar with Doge soon. The dollar, the XY. So like I was saying earlier, it's like if we had 10 things to tick off. If we had 10 different things to tick off, like, oh yeah, if all these 10 things were ticked, then crypto bull market will be back on. Like, at least we've got one of them ticked. Okay, this is one of them. This is one of them ticked. I'm not going to spend too much time like I did in the last video. I'm sorry getting the shit end of it, but yeah, you can imagine how crazy it drives you if you've already just said exactly the same shit. But just stock market, S&P 500, just damn bad. It's in free fall, but it has done this before. It does do this sort of shit. These have got a lot more gaps. This is probably a lot more shocking, but a lot of uncertainty, a lot of economic uncertainty. We'll move into a little bit of Trump stuff in a second. We'll talk about show some videos, talk about some Trump stuff. But I looked at Tesla before as well. Tesla's down 56%, I believe it was. Nasdaq's down bad. So these do have, you know, these do have spiking recoveries, but it's just like, oh yeah, when, because it'll probably line up, the correlation will probably line up with crypto and gold. Yeah, we're just waiting for gold to have that try at a higher high. It's going to try for 3K. It might fall short, but that's just, yeah, that's a pretty easy one. Okay, let's move over to where we were. I tried to get all the ones back that I had. First off, let's just get a little bit of Biden hatred and Trump appreciation, I suppose, before we we'll warm ourselves up. Don't be short-sighted. This senile asshat literally tried to destroy our entire industry. Don't miss him. Things were not better under his admin. Trump is inflicting pain on markets for the short term, but it will fix long-term problems and the results will be one of the most insane fucking bull runs you have ever fucking seen. Fingers crossed, Lark. Let's see how true that will be. Holy shit. Speaking of ass hats, Jim Cramer says today's market sell-off shouldn't scare investors. You know, so if you follow the inverse Cramer, then you don't say less. This is a bit of gay hope, what's it called? Alpha mindset. I don't even know. You wouldn't call. I don't. What's the name for this? Just shit that I shouldn't even bother reading. But hey, look, even if it is a squeezed out chicken, may as well say it. If you give up now, you lose. Survive this and you'll win big. I don't know if you'll win big, but you'll probably win if you survive this. You just got to survive, be in the market, stay in the market. We're almost there. The choice is yours. Riches are calling. Yeah, we'll see. But maybe you don't know. Okay, let's watch some videos together, and then we will discuss.
We're going to take in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, and we're going to become so rich, you're not going to know where to spend all that money. I'm telling you, you just watch. We're going to have jobs. We're going to have open factories. It's going to be great.
Fuck, that would have blown your eardrums off. Sorry. Do you believe him? All right, let's have a look. Did you hear about the crypto summit? David Sachs, the boys. Let's have a little listen together. I'm not sure if you've seen this video. So a bit of an all-star lineup. They only showed about 20 minutes, but only broadcasted about 20 minutes. It apparently went for a few hours. So a lot were discussed. Probably just a meeting, you know. Everyone's can't expect too much from just the first meet.
Welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit. Last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise.
Your administration is moving at tech speed.
We are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that.
Technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency.
This is truly a historic day, and as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration.
No one in this room could have envisioned this just a couple years ago.
We want to stay at the forefront of everything. This is a big day. Being in the White House is a big deal, and you have great support. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All that's missing is me, man, these settings. Sorry. Trump has been saying very often that we think US Bitcoin balance available for repurpose into a reserve is max 88K. Yeah, thanks, Marty. I fucked that up. I just said all that video was missing was Team America song, America, fuck yeah, and a bald eagle screeching. Yeah, you didn't miss much. But this is interesting, this is an interesting bit. We think current US Bitcoin balance available for repurpose into a reserve is max 88,000 Bitcoin. Only 43% of government holdings. That's because 198, I think you can hear me now, right? You can hear me now, right? Because of the 109, that's because 198K Bitcoin now held by the US government, 112 Bitcoin will be returned to Bitfinex. So there was a big Bitfinex hack. There was a big Bitfinex hack back in the past. It was a big hack. And the courts deemed it fair for the US government to pay it back to Bitfinex. Okay, so Trump's gone around saying we have 200,000 Bitcoin. We are keeping 200,000 Bitcoin. So there's a little bit of a hidden speculation going on right now that Trump will realize that they have to give back 112 Bitcoin, 112K Bitcoin, and they can only really put 88,000 in the stockpile. I mean, if you're Trump, like, you'd be like 88,000. That's less than China. I think that's less than a lot of countries. So they'll be like, so people are going to think the US government are going to find a way, non-taxpayer way, to buy that extra Bitcoin and get it back up to 200,000, because apparently they do not have the full 200,000, or they do, but they have to give it up. Let's watch a little bit of good chat together. This is David Sachs, so get to know him. He's a crypto czar, CZAR, crypto czar. We'll just watch a little bit. Watch a little bit of this one first. About here, we'll have a little look together. Eh? But we'll just cruise into a few videos, chat it up, and then yeah. But these are some. This you'll rate this guy. You'll understand a lot more about what's going on after you've watched these videos. That's for sure. So let's watch it together.
When you talk about the stewardship, particularly the stockpile, could you be seeing things like staking, lending? Is there going to be other ways to maximize the volume there?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I think that the idea of this executive order is to create the mandate, right? So first of all, we're going to move these digital assets from wherever they are all over the government. We're going to find out what they are. First of all, we're going to do the accounting. We're going to do the audit. Then we're going to move them into a separate account for safekeeping. And then the Secretary of the Treasury and his team will be able to exercise portfolio management and long-term and responsible stewardship. And yes, that could include staking. It could include rebalancing. It could include sales. These are all options that they can pursue if the Secretary of the Treasury believes that these are in the long-term interests of the American people.
Just going into what's in the holding of the US government, going back to what President Trump mentioned over the weekend, talking of Ripple, Solana, other alternative coins, that people are wondering whether they're going to be included in this stockpile. Will they? Does the US own them? Why mention them by the president?
Well, the president just mentioned the top 5 cryptocurrencies by market cap. So I think people are just reading into this a little bit too much. He just mentioned the top 5. In terms of what we'll actually have, again, we have to do the accounting.
How's that? Just mentioned the top 5. People are looking into it so much. It's just the top 5, bro. He just named Cardano and Ripple and shit because they got market cap. I don't know. Weird.
We're not sure, sitting here today, whether the federal government owns any of these alternative cryptocurrencies. We know it owns Bitcoin. I believe it owns some Ethereum. I'm not sure about the other ones. This is why we have to do the accounting, is that, to be honest, no one's been able to give us a straight answer yet in terms of what the federal government owns. And this is part of the problem, is that we've never really had a digital asset strategy before. And this is why we've, missed out on accumulating a lot of value for the American people.
See, this is why I like that guy. He's like, to be honest, we don't even know how much we got. Like, he's not fluffing it around. He's not trying to act like he knows more. You know what I mean? He's not trying to be like, I'm the crypto czar. He's just being straight up. To be honest, we don't fucking know what we got. We're just trying to work it out. So chill out, bitch.
David, you mentioned earlier that you don't have any additional cryptocurrency assets anymore. You've divested from your interests there. However, Secretary Lutnick in July mentioned that he had, quote, a shed load of Bitcoin. Do you think it's important for these stewards of the reserve and the stock?
I think we'll move on from this one and look at this other one. This is a bit better. Some good questions here, but let's get it to a good spot. But yeah, like, interesting that he says, he's just like, oh yeah, Bitcoin. Trump didn't even. Trump just said the top 5. Cardano. In this one, he explains more about how, like, they're planning on in this. So there's a Bitcoin reserve where they buy Bitcoin, they never sell it, and then there's the stockpile where he's talking about, in this video you'll see it's pretty interesting. He's talking about how they're planning on, like, in the stockpile, they're planning on managing the crypto, like trading and investing, moving it around from coin to coin, following the trends. It's like they're not actually planning on holding XRP or Cardano or Solana or Ethereum for that matter. So let's watch a little bit.
One, the original crypto OGs were like, wait a second, why is he picking these 3 and not these 3? So that made a lot of people, putting myself out of it, like, whoa, what's going on here? Is he picking favorites? And that's, I guess, everybody's big concern. So maybe you could assuage that.
We're not. Yeah, we're not picking favorites, obviously, except I will say this. We do think Bitcoin is special, and I can get into the reasons why.
Explain why. That's a great thing, yeah.
Well, Bitcoin's the original cryptocurrency. It's the first one. It's the only one that doesn't have an issuer. Right? It's very decentralized. It's, in crypto, they call this the Immaculate Conception. We don't really know how it got here. We don't know who Satoshi is. It's almost mystical, you would say.
Yes.
It's the most valuable one. It has a $2 trillion market cap, and it's the most secure. It's never been hacked, right? So we're now, over 15 years into this journey, and there's been a lot of people who've been skeptical along the way, and there's been a lot of ups and downs. But here it is. I mean, I remember back in 2011, I think it's the first time I bought a Bitcoin. I think it was at $120. Now it's at $90,000. Again, there've been all sorts of wild swings along the way, but this thing just keeps chugging along. And you can think of that $2 trillion market cap as like a $2 trillion bug bounty. If there was a way to hack this, there's every incentive in the world. And by hack, I mean like to double spend, create basically a counterfeit Bitcoin, I guess would be the way for people to think about it. And
it is a miracle it hasn't been compromised. I think we can all say that.
Well, I don't know if it's a miracle. I think it's exceptional design.
Sure.
And so I think what you could say is that it's been tested in a very robust way, and there's been every incentive to basically break the encryption
It's no miracle pea brain. This is not a miracle pea brain. It's built like that.
And it continues to chug along. And so I think the price has gone up as the protocol has gotten more acceptance. And this is another point, is that Bitcoin is the most widely accepted as a store of value throughout the world.
Yeah.
So we do believe it should be treated special. Now, that being said, we're also creating the digital asset stockpile. So all the other digital assets...
Explain the difference between these two. So there's a digital asset stockpile. That's the picker. And then on the other side, there's a strategic reserve for Bitcoin, because we do acquire Bitcoin, we, the United States of America, when we seize from terrorists, criminals, et cetera. We do seize these. And then we often make the mistake of liquidating them when maybe we should be holding them. Yeah. So explain that architecture.
So we have the reserve and we have the stockpile. So the reserve is just Bitcoin. The goal is long-term preservation. Think of it as like a digital Fort Knox for digital gold. We want to put the digital gold in there. We want to keep it secure. We never want to sell it. That's the goal of the reserve. And you're right that we've made the mistake in the past of selling this stuff. At one point in time, we had about 400,000 Bitcoin on the federal balance sheet. We sold roughly half of that for something like $360 million total. If we had held all of that, it would be worth, just that the portion we sold would be worth over 17 billion. So we made this mistake of prematurely selling Bitcoin when we should have held it. We don't want to make that mistake with regard to the rest of it. We think there's around 200,000 coins left on the federal balance sheet, but the truth is that nobody knows because we've never done a proper audit. So part of what this executive order provides is that we're going to do for the first time a government-wide accounting of the digital assets that we actually have. So,
and if digital assets emerge in some department, I don't know, the FBI seizes some, the CIA seizes some, I don't know which organization winds up having them, they're going to be legally required to report that and then put them in the reserve.
Well, they'll be legally required to report it, and then they'll go in the reserve if there's a final adjudication. So, obviously, if those coins could go back as restitution to victims, or if the person who they were seized from wins their court case and gets them back.
I hadn't listened up to there yet, but exactly what he just said was exactly that tweet that we just talked about before. Like he's prepping for it.
They're not going to go in.
He's prepping for it.
Those coins could go back as restitution to victims, or if the person who they were seized from wins their court case and gets them back, they're not going to go into the Federal Reserve. But if there's been a final adjudication and a final forfeiture, yes, those will go into the reserve. Anyway, that's Bitcoin. Okay, so then you got the stockpile. Let me just talk about that. So first of all, like I said, we don't know exactly what digital assets the federal government has. I've seen reports that it might have, for example, 50,000 ETH, which is Ethereum. But again, we need to get to the bottom of that. When we figure out exactly what the assets are, we're going to move them into the digital stockpile. The purpose of the stockpile is responsible stewardship. It's a place for safekeeping. It's a centralized, you could say, account under the direction of the Secretary of the Treasury. And the Secretary of the Treasury will figure out how to maximize the values of these holdings. Now, there's a couple of important differences between stockpile and reserve. So one is the reserve, the executive order actually provides that the Secretary of the Treasury will not sell the Bitcoin. Okay, we're prohibited from selling the Bitcoin. There's no such prohibition with respect to the stockpile. If the Secretary of the Treasury decides that it's in the long-term interest of the U.S. to rebalance the portfolio or change the portfolio, the Secretary has the discretion to do that.
Okay, which makes sense because there's a long tail of crypto. We might see something that we don't have the ability to predict the future, and we don't have the staff to sit there and look at these assets every day like a fund manager would and say, what do we do with these? What percentage should it be of the overall stockpile, of the overall holdings? So maybe the decision with Ethereum is, hey, this thing's waning. We just put it into Bitcoin because we know that's the more solid one. Yeah, that's what I'm reading into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's largely fair. I mean, look, I think that the stockpile should be subject to good portfolio management, right?
Excellent.
Unfortunately, we have a Secretary of the Treasury who is an extremely successful former hedge fund manager. So he's going to figure out the best way to manage these assets. And we give him the flexibility to do portfolio management. Whereas
See that AI says, pretty much they're going to manage the portfolio. they're gonna hold crypto and they're going to manage it. They're going to move it around. They're going to sell it. They're going to buy it. They're going to follow the trend, and they're going to rip in. That's what I'm picking up. Marty says, I want to know where they keep the seed phrases. I imagine some loose bit of paper just floating around. the White House somewhere. They do multi-sig, so there'll be like 7 different seed phrases that all need to come combined. That's what happened with the. That's what Vitalik like talks about, how he has like he's got one of his seed phrases with his mum, one with him, and then one with like his best friend or something, and they all 3 need to like come together so he can move as Ethereum. And that's what happened with the ByBit hack as well. The ByBit hack. The North Koreans got all like 3 or 5 of them to sign off on it. And that's what I'd hope and assume that's what these guys will do. They probably have one like up in a vault in Antarctica or something. But anyways, we'll wrap it up there. Cheers, Marty, for hanging around. Cheers, boys. 7 p.m. Let's fucking keep it rolling. Let's keep you updated. We will recover financially. Peace and love. Take it easy. See you then. Bye bye.